I'll get there you go. I'll get the live stream going eventually, but go on.
Perfect. Okay, so this is for all of our panelists. And this one is, what is one of your best milestones or accomplishments in your current job or in your career overall? And let's start with Courtney this time.
So I mentioned Odyssey Goals being a company that I joined recently. I actually joined as soon as I returned from GCC this last year. And so in that time frame, we had a very quick turnaround. So we started off with one key person who was our software developer, and he's been working on this project for probably 8 to 10 years, trying to juggle the whole thing. And it hasn't really been getting off the ground because software takes a long time to develop, and so does developing business sides as well. But within this 1 month alone, we've reached our first 100 users for our beta testing. We've done market research. We've done a lot of networking in critical spaces, which has given us a lot of resources to use. So for example, last week, there was a startup week in St. Louis specifically for startups. And we really got out there and went to everything that we could and really dug out those resources and have spread out to divide them as much as possible. And we are looking to be on time with our launch, our official beta launch for the website version in January.
Beautiful. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Sounds very fun. Who's next? Let's go to Mars. You're still muted.
And this was the question regarding the milestone or accomplishment in my current role, correct?
Correct.
Okay. There's a lot going on in my role as the Director of Academic Budget and Resources here at the university. So I wear many hats. I oversee a lot of departments, and keeping things in line are, as far as the budget is concerned, is my main goal. But I think in life, specifically related to my job, the biggest decision and accomplishment I made was 2 years ago, leaving a place that I wasn't happy with. It took a lot of self-growth and development, understanding myself as a person and knowing my worth as a person and what I contribute, and not taking feedback that was negatively directed towards me in just in an environment that was very toxic. And I think regardless of the money that people chase sometimes, it's really important that you are in a place that you are valued and helps you bring your best foot forward. So my accomplishment is being here at the university in a role that I am valued, where my two bosses, the CFO and the provost, value what I have to say in regards to the work that I do. And they take what I give and use that information to make strategic decisions. And I think that's really important for me as a person and as an employee of the university.
Beautiful. I had a quote the other day that said, the most lonely place in the world is where you're not wanted. So it makes sense that you need to be where people value you and your time and your effort and what you bring to the table. Thank you for that. And Jerry, let's go to you.
I'd say that a milestone for my career, my job is the longevity that I've been there. When you first start out, you're trying to figure out what you want to do. Whether or not you're going to stay at the current job that you're at right when you get out of college or you get that first job. Every so often you come across a company that you just got a good feel about. And I knew shortly after I started the company that I'm with, I wanted to retire there. So I'm very proud that I've been there 26 years this year. I'm looking forward to many more. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have the longevity at your job. It's like talking Mars, you got to find a place that fits and feel comfortable at. And that's where I'm at in my company. So that's my milestone accomplishment is where I'm at and still being comfortable and enjoying what I'm doing.
Sounds your fit. We love to hear it. Sounds good. And let's go to Paul.
Yeah, I think one of mine actually happened now, I think it's 7 or 8 years ago, but you know, my company had, you know, I'd worked for fairly small companies and I kind of still work for fairly small companies, and we were acquired by a pretty big company that, you know, they one of their brands is the Cannes Lion Film Festival, so they're definitely known for their foo-foo events and things like that. And you know, we were acquired in basically with a set of 4 companies that literally hated each other and had to somehow figure out how to merge together. And we figured we'd do this by running an event in New York City. So I led the whole charge of running it, getting the speakers together, really combining entities that really, you know, the year before were competing against each other and getting us all the, you know, at least for 2 days, be on the same page. And it was just amazing to sit there at the end of the day. The first event in New York City, 200-person event, went off without a hitch. You know, came back, executives are saying, yeah, that was the thing that helped speed up the integrations and things like that. So definitely the feeling of a lifetime that, you know, just the parent company of Cannes Lions, I just kind of showed them how to run an event and how to bring companies together, I think was the milestones. And you know, a lot of the folks I worked with and the outside speakers and those co-workers, I'm still working today across different companies and across different industries. So I think I'm proud of being able to do it, but then also proud of being able to establish the relationships that, you know, we're still talking, we're still working, we're still helping each other out today, 5-6 years down the road.
They're definitely an interesting thing to maneuver through. That's very fair.
Well,
Very interesting. And finally, this is Markowitz.
So mine was probably in my last role, was the most meaningful experience I've had in my entire career. So I said I work for Humana. I am in Medicare. So you may or may not know that in Medicare for payers like us, so Medicare Part C, we get paid by CMS based on what's called a risk score. And the risk score is individually calculated for every single member that we have. And it essentially is figuring in a lot of demographic factors, but tying into that the health or the level of sickness of each member. So each member has what we call as a risk score, and that's how we get paid our premium. At Humana, we are leading the charge in what we call value-based arrangements. So that is where we work with a provider group and we share the risk. They get paid a portion of premium instead of just getting paid for every doctor's visit they do, with an intent of keeping our members healthier. So Medicare risk adjustment, very complicated. We say it takes about 2 years to understand it. So I taught myself Medicare risk adjustment. I turned around and taught myself the finances. How does it work? How do you create a risk score? How does a single claim change that risk score? And then the department I was working in is the only one in the industry at the time, and it was fraud for value-based arrangements. So I had to figure out, how does the finances work? How does all this come into play? And then flip it to say, well, how could a provider commit fraud? This is no longer something as simple as saying that you performed a test or a visit that you never did. This is intentional diagnosis code changes on your membership panel. Super complicated. Like I said, we were leading the industry, the only one at the time who had a department like this. So within 1 year of being on that role, I took our investigation process from the financial lens and completely flipped it, because the way that we were auditing was not in alignment with how the finances worked. So we could not prove intent in a court of law based on how we were auditing. And so I was able to understand that, flip it, change our reporting metrics that made it really easy for a jury to understand, and made it really easy for my attorneys to understand, and got them on board in like a 15-minute meeting. And that was something that we had never done before. And so that's something that I still kind of hold really, really close to my chest and super excited and proud about, was to be able to connect all those dots, teach myself that, and be able to make a meaningful difference for our company.
100%. Sound like you had like 5 different job titles in that one
Yeah.
instant.
Yeah.
I salute you for that one. Hold up. Okay. On that note, let's go into our next question. And this is for Mars and Jerry. And this is, what does Delta Sigma Pi mean to you? And we can start with Jerry. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that.
It's Delta Sigma Pi is what it means to me is it's being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. We've talked about relationships. We've talked about seeing people that we may have met at our first lead 20 years ago, and you'd still keep in touch with them. It's running across campus to make sure you get into chapter before you do ritual. Sense of belonging. And I am who I am today, partly because of Delta Sigma Pi. Being able to talk to people, although I don't do it very well, but I'm a little more comfortable talking in front of a group. But just the mere fact of having the opportunity to learn as you go, and knowing that your brothers will have your back if you stumble, and if you go the wrong path, you know your brothers are going to set you straight and tell you, hey, you need to get back on track. So I all in all, it's not necessarily a separate part of my life. It's, as it is for everyone else, it's probably all part of all of our lives, intertwining on a daily basis.
There's definitely a brotherhood in all aspects of the word. Thank you for that. And Mars?
Yes, I agree with Jerry. What does Delta Sigma Pi mean to me is being part of something that truly is bigger than yourself. And I recall as a pledge, when we had our interview, they asked me, why do you want to join Delta Sigma Pi? And as a person who was strictly opposed to joining any sort of fraternity, I asked them, well, give me a reason why I shouldn't join Delta Sigma Pi. And that was my answer to that question. Because I really didn't see a reason not to join, because what I've discovered from DSP, I am where I am today because of the connections that I made. And I still keep in contact with a lot of the brothers that were still part of the fraternity. I have about 4 littles, and 2 of them I am very close with. I call them my children. And one of them is actually online right now supporting me. But it's a vast network of people where you can connect with anytime. Anywhere you go, you're bound to run into somebody that is a Delta Sig. And it's interesting to see, especially when you're in a different state and you're wearing letters and somebody comes up to you and challenges you, and you're kind of looking at each other like, whoa, we're completely different generations, but we have something to connect. And it's something that I'll share with you. When I started here at Pacific it was November or September of last year, there was a person who reached out to me. She says, hey, you were in DSP? And I said, yes, I am. And she said, well, I graduated from Fresno State. I was in Delta Sig so many years ago. And instantly, she wasn't somebody I knew. I don't think she was somebody I would have gone along with. But because she was a brother, there was a different level of connection there. And I think that really helps when you're trying to connect with somebody, because you have some level of commonality that allows you to connect with people. And so connection is the biggest thing for me.
Definitely fair. Every time I meet a Delta Sig somewhere else, we're automatically friends. You don't have a choice about it. So that's very fair. I respect. Okay, thank you for that, you two. And our next question is for Paul, Jenna, and Courtney. It is, how have the skills and values you learned from the fraternity helped you in your professional life? And let's start with Jenna.
So mine is networking. I am a 10 out of 10 introvert. which makes networking like physically painful. But DSP taught me how to network without it being like icky. You're talking to your friends. And so you can come in and have a conversation and find some common ground to get to know someone. And so doing that through multiple national events bled over into my work career. And so now I don't like pretend that I'm working or like hide out when there's a networking event going on outside of a training. I actually go. And I've met different people that way and taking those skill sets forward, which has helped move my career forward.
Definitely, that's a big thing. I would say I'm a little introverted myself, so it's nice to hear that coming out of you. And let's go to Paul.
Sure. Yeah, I feel the introvert thing. I was tell you, Congress was a little tough. I was tired at the end of it, but had fun. In general, I think it's tough. So I feel like the fraternity has actually helped me evolve really in all stages of my career. I started my career literally in the basement of a small community bank. But then I also literally started my volunteer career at the same time. And, I was working on leadership teams with, in some cases, folks who are 15, 20 years older than me, or in other cases, folks who are just at that next level. So that kind of high junior, starting to go into some of the, the senior levels. So I literally just soaked everything I could in, from listening to the way they thought, listening to the way they approach things. And I started to integrate that really into the way I would think about, how would I think about budgeting? How would I think about running events? How would I think about running campaigns? I think now, as I've gotten older and I guess more senior in the Delta Sig journey, I think it's definitely given me the skill of empathy. And I think the value of empathy, of really being able to not only accept others, but also understand how best we could work together. And it's definitely been invaluable. And honestly, it's helped me understand people and dial myself back at times when, just sometimes you just want to get extremely furious, but then remember, oh, I could, taking a step back, I can understand where they're coming from. I can kind of understand some of the pain points they might be having here, and, really use it as a step back to help them and help me help them at the same time.
And there's always more than one or two ways to look at something. It's very true. And finally, let's go to Courtney.
Well, I can also echo on that networking piece that we've all agreed on. I think for this, it was very, very helpful that I actually transferred between and had like 2 experiences with different chapters. At my first chapter, like we all communicated very directly, transparently, and like to the point, very efficient. And that was something that personally, like I've always valued that. And the involvement style as well, like everyone wanted to be there, everyone was engaged, it was all hands on board. Whereas with that transfer, you have to understand like communication styles aren't the same for everyone. So that same transparent and effective communication that I was using while trying to just drill everyone to get their involvement up whenever I was highly involved in my second chapter, that actually very much clashed with their culture, and having to learn how to navigate how to change cultures. And that's always going to be a valuable skill, because you're never going to hold the same job forever, and every culture is not going to be the same. So having that first reality check and learning how to navigate it there was so valuable for everywhere that I've been professionally.
Yeah. We all have to have that wake up call, wake up check, get into the real world. It's very fair. But unfortunately, we're being a little stringent on time. So we're going to move to our Q&A section. You guys are giving me great responses. I'm up here listening crazy. But so we're going to keep this kind of short, maybe 1 or 2 answers. But the first question that we have from our audience is, do any of you have a favorite or meaningful FRAC memory to share? And anybody can just blurt it out right now. Something stands out to you to say. If not, I'll pick somebody.
From our own chapter, is that what they're meaning?
FRAC, I think he said.
FRAC, yeah, any FRAC memory. Do you have any FRAC members or any events like that? Since we're all getting quiet, I'm picking Jerry.
I think for me, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
Jerry just got
No.
saved.
Jerry looks like he's ready. Both of you, that's two.
I was going to
Jerry.
say the latest and greatest event that we had at GCC, just seeing everybody connect with each other as if they, you know, hung out years prior when most of this has been virtual. That was just a good, amazing thing to see.
Yeah, perfect. And Jerry?
The marathon Zooms and the tote. I think you try to hang out to be the last one of the last ones standing, and eventually you got to tap out because you just can't keep your eyes open.
Very fair. Yes. Good memory. Okay, let's go on to our next question. And how do you encourage brother involvement at the collegiate level? And let's start with Paul and Jenna for this one.
That's $1 million question I think we asked all weekend. So, and everyone shaking their heads or nodding their heads too. So I think at the collegiate level, there's a few things. Certainly, I'm a big fan of surveying. So literally just asking, hey, what are some things that interest you? What are some topics you'd like to kind of see us cover, just to really kind of get a baseline in terms of that. But I also think a lot of the social events sometimes have fun. I think some of my most favorite memories as a collegian, probably still the reason why I'm sitting here, are just like those ice cream Sundays after chapter, those pizza parties, those bowling nights. So I think those are some big ones. Hopefully there'll be more to come. I think as we go down the road of other ways to be involved. I will put in a shameless plug that all committees are, interested in having collegians serve on them. So certainly, if you're interested, you could either drop Vito or myself, or actually, that's right. Jenna said she'd help me with that, or Jenna. Yeah, actually, do Jenna, because I could see her yelling at me, her eyes yelling at me. But yeah, all
I was voluntold just there.
Exactly. But all some great things coming down the pipe. I'm personally a little bit partial to the National Alumni Development Committee, seeing as I've just worked on that for 6 years, but they were all great.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I like to just talk one-on-one, find out their why. What is your passion? Everyone's passion is different. You've got some people who are super passionate about community service events. You've got people who really want to grow in their career. You've got people that just want to meet other brothers. Find their why. Once we find their why, we can plug them in anywhere. We've got so many opportunities amongst this fraternity. And so it's really meeting on that one-on-one level, finding the why and making that connection.
Well, Jenna, you just segued me perfectly into the next question. You're going to have to answer it now. How do you stay positive when other brothers around you are losing their passion? I want to hear from you and Courtney on this one.
Ooh. So I'm going to steal from Judith's presentation this weekend at the Volunteer Leadership Retreat, and I find my core. And remind myself why I do this. And so I get a lot of venting, and you have to kind of scrub through the venting to figure out what's venting and what can we change? How can we find the themes and work to make a difference? If we're just going to sit and complain, there's no point. So you have to take a step and make a difference. But then after kind of hearing the negativity, I go back to my core. What is it that I am doing this for? Where is the difference that I'm making? And remind myself of that. And then if that doesn't work, I've got 3 little Delta Sig dividends that are running around my house. And so they remind me that this fraternity has a much bigger purpose.
Beautiful answer. I love it. Thank you. Courtney?
I would almost actually flip it. In times that I've really struggled with like maintaining positivity with a lot of negativity around me, that's times that I've really tapped into reaching out to those national relations that I've made. So maybe I'm struggling with getting my committee wanting to be involved. Well, I don't really want to nag at my own committee. So I'll maybe reach out to this brother in the same position as me, 3-4 states away, and be like, hey, are you running into the same issue? And kind of get some feedback, get some support, and pretty much really reframe that situation and see how you can turn it into an opportunity.
For both two great answers on different sides of the spectrum, but I feel like they both were valuable and will work. Thank you for that. And leading into our next question, let's go with, I want to do Mars for this one, and Jerry, and maybe Paul as well. What is your opinion on mentorship, and do you think they matter and people should seek them out?
Absolutely.
Start with you, Mars. I know
Short
you're
answer,
adamant about this
absolutely.
one.
Sorry, was there a part two?
I mean, you said yes to all of them. Do you think they matter and should people seek them out? Absolutely, yes.
Mentors, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one person can't serve all roles of a mentor. So you have multiple people in your life that serve different purposes. You have friends that you can talk to about anything, whether it's trauma or something that you suffered through. You have friends that you can't really talk about. Sometimes all you need, but they're there to listen to you. You have people that in your work environment that you talk to about work, or somebody that's a person you go to for your life decisions. Like say you're contemplating graduate school, you're contemplating, if you want to move jobs. And I think it's important to have some person, at least a few people in your life that you can go to for some level of mentorship. It doesn't have to be a formal process. There doesn't need to be any documentation regarding this, any level of mentorship. For Delta Sigma Pi, I think it's good to kind of keep track, especially if you're a district director, if you have a different role with the people you talk to, so that you understand, because you're talking to hundreds of people, right? For example, Paul, I'm sure many people go to him. So having a record of, okay, I talked to these collegiates about this subject, and maybe it's something that I can bring to the next meeting, something like that. But any type of mentorship in general, I highly support. Even with my collegiates, I always tell them, hey, look, if you don't have a resource on campus and you need somebody to talk to, no matter what it is, you come to me, you talk to me, I'll tell you where to go, or I'll be that person for you. And it's confidential. And just reassuring that person, your mentee, that, hey, it's going to be okay, we'll figure it out. But I think it's very important to have a mentor in your life. And if you don't, especially if you're very forward about it, I know a lot of younger folks tend to shy away from reaching out to people that they look up to. And I think it's very empowering when somebody comes up to you and say, hey, I really appreciate the work that you've done.
Yep.
Are you open to mentor me for XYZ? They're not going to tell you no. A no isn't a no unless you hear it. So don't sell yourself short in trying to find somebody to mentor you. I'll step off my soapbox now.
Definitely. People love to talk about themselves too. So when you come out to them first and just let them ramble, you learn so much. I agree with everything you said. Let's hear from Jerry now.
I agree 100%. Having a mentorships matter, and definitely seek them out. Don't ever be afraid to talk to somebody. And maybe a general idea of a mentor, maybe somebody who might be older than you are. I don't think that's necessarily the case, because we can learn from each other no matter what our experiences are. There's many people on this call that I look up to as a mentor. I met people this weekend that I would consider a mentor, even though I met them for the first time. Just different perspectives that you can get while you're going through things. Sounding board. Hey, am I on the right track? Do you think I did this right? Or sometimes I have as I mentioned this weekend, I tell a story. I try to give too much information. That way, I'm kind of formulating what I know I think of it, but maybe looking at what other people, what their thought process are on the same deal based on their reactions and stuff of the story I'm telling. So as I digress, but yes, mentors are very important. Don't ever, any of us on here, I would say, don't ever hesitate to ask us a question. If we don't have the answer, we may have to reach out to our mentors to help get you the answer you need. So definitely please seek them out if you need to.
That's beautiful. It's not that formal. It's easy to get out to them. So definitely better reach out first. Going into our next question. This is open for everybody. I feel like somebody might have an opinion on this. But one person said, me and my pledge brother lived together in DSP, but now I live in Pennsylvania and go back to Wyoming. We now have alumni chapters near us. How can we stay connected together as Delta Sig?
FRAC.
Right. Yeah. That's fair. Anybody else have any input?
I think for me, my biggest resource of getting back involved with the fraternity as an alumni has been Facebook. Pretty much anything that DSP is doing is going to be somewhere on Facebook if it's nowhere else.
Yeah,
Fair.
and certainly if there's a local event near you, drop down to that. I think those are always good pieces. As well to kind of stay connected. Good old fashioned phone, I suppose, works at times as well with some folks too.
Fair. And a follow-up question on that, if I didn't forget it already. God, I already forgot it. Anyways, let's move on to question 6. This is a quick one. What is business casual to you? It's a good question. It's a very good question. I want to hear from the
Casual, and
ladies.
it's a business meeting.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, no, you're good. It ranges, it differs for males and females. So like you have to, it's a strict line between that. But Paul, what do you think, Mr. President, is business casual?
I am. I mean, I've worked in startups for a bit now, so I am fine with jeans. And I mean, honestly, I've seen jeans and hoodies in the workplace, so I don't quite think that's business casual. But jeans and a nice shirt to me is good enough for casual in today's day and age. To me.
Jenna, any thoughts?
Yes.
I don't think I'm as lax as Paul. For me, it's dress lax and a nice shirt, or for women, dresses are fantastic. You can dress them up, dress them down, and do anything. But in my world, jeans is not business casual.
Okay, so we were 1-1.
Stuffy medical.
Let's hear from Jerry. We're 1-1 right now.
Yeah,
Hear from Jerry.
I lean more toward probably Dockers or a pair of slacks and a nice shirt for business casual.
2-1, Paul. Courtney.
I gotta echo the dresses heavily. I've heard that a lot this week. I know that's not very everyone friendly. If I hear business in the phrase, I'm not thinking jeans. So.
I got killed on that one.
3-1 and Mark. You make it 3-2.
I always believe that you should always dress better than the occasion. So if I'm for example, I'm in a workplace where it's okay to be a little business casual because it's a college campus, I'm mostly in professional dress 90% of the time. But that's just my personal opinion, and it's only a reflection of me, not what I think of anybody else. However, I think it's okay to, a polo is always a good option. A polo and slacks or pants.
Fair. So we have a pretty laid back president, I can see. Pretty laid back. Okay.
A lot of garage companies I work for.
That's fair. We have a question in the chat from Ella J. And regarding mentoring, have you had any success story of someone you mentored and they were empowered to pass it forward and mentor someone else?
I was going to type and it was going to be a long type, so I'll just say it. So I have. It was probably, I think she was the first associate I hired when I started being a leader. And that was 12 years ago now. Still am her mentor. Still, she reaches out to me for questions. And it was actually probably like 4 months ago. She reached out to me and was like, so I have this question for you. I've got someone that I'm working with. I'm teaching on this. And I remember you told me something, but I don't remember what it was. Can you help me connect it to them? And we got on a call, the three of us, and kind of walked through the process. And so I was reteaching her some of the things. And that was just like so empowering, and it just made me feel so good that not only did I make a difference in my mentee's life, but then I made a difference in someone's life that I had never even known before.
Yeah,
A little bit. Ooh, my bad. Go ahead.
No,
Paul,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask her, how did that make you feel when she reached out to you and asked that for that help and you mentored her? More so.
It was fantastic. Like I just like felt like I had a purpose in life. It was something bigger than myself.
Beautiful. I thought you were gonna say that. I love that you did. Okay, Paul, I'm sorry to cut you off, sir.
No worries, I cut you off. So I had something similar actually as Jenna, same thing, kind of person I had hired, and we literally sat next to each other. We're kind of like symbiotic, twins there for 5 years. I'm doing a lot of marketing automation. And even though we don't work together, I'll still get random texts from her like, what do you think about this? How would you approach this? There was actually one time when I sent her a text about a marketing automation workflow. I'm like, this is killing me. I don't know what to do. And she's like, I'm going to make you wait 3 hours and then I'm going to respond because that's how I feel about you. But but having her just like, it was amazing just being able to have like that full circle conversation of like, kind of what's the grasshopper and the jet or whatever. It's 9:30. I don't remember metaphors, but that was really cool to see. And then she's taken big global roles and has a team of her own. So it's just really special to see just the same thing, kind of the impact that you have on people and how they kind of help you on the back end too. So that's really awesome.
Cool. Great answers. Great job being mentors, guys. Snapping right now. You can't see it, but I'm snapping. Let's go to our next question. Let's go Courtney and Jerry for this one. And what is your advice for figuring out what you really want to do? Start with Courtney.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a challenging situation that I'm still kind of navigating myself. I'm actually reading the book Strength Finder 2.0 currently, and so that is really helping me understand where some of the experiences that I've sought out on why they didn't go as I had hoped. Currently, it's very much a trial and error process as well. But I've noticed in myself, like I can tell how much I care about something by how I hold a conversation about it. So if I am considering an opportunity or something that I think that I might want to do, I'll turn to someone that I'm really close with and just hold a conversation. And the way that I answer their questions, and that goes down to not only wording, but tone too. Like I am actually not good at controlling my tone of voice. That's a skill that I have to put a lot of practice into when doing anything speaking. So if my tone drops and it's like a negative tone, then I'm like, okay, I don't want to seek that out, even though I thought that it might be a good opportunity.
Very fair. Being aware of how you react to things is very, very important. Thank you for that, Jerry.
And we're talking about to figure out what we want to do, correct?
Yep.
I think you just explore all avenues that you think you might want to try. You may not be able to actually physically go down that path, but make sure you consider several options. One thing actually at the leadership training this weekend, we were talking about this weekend for the post GCC for the leaders and such, did have a question similar to this. And what I really intended to do when I went into school was to be an engineer. I got into it a little bit and decided I didn't want to do that. And I ended up going into accounting. Went through accounting and got involved in leadership in the residence halls and such, and eventually decided I wanted to go into counseling and student personnel, get my master's and work at a university somewhere. Well, at that point in time, I decided I was going to get married and wasn't ready to go back to grad school. So I ended up getting a job in accounting. So what I just know that whatever path you're on and what you end up wanting to do, you may not necessarily be doing exactly what you set out to do, but you might still be able to do similar things. Although I'm not in counseling and student personnel working at a university, Delta Sig actually gives me the opportunity to do what I set out to do in the very along my path. So keep your options open. And just because your path isn't leading you directly where you intended to start out at and end up, you might zig and zag and get there eventually. And it may not necessarily be what you planned, but you'll be able to do it in some way, shape, or form.
Definitely. A huge part of it is knowing what you don't want to do too, not knowing
Very
what you
true.
do want to do. So finding out what you don't like is a very pivotal part in that. Okay, so we got 2 more quick questions. Let's go. Everybody has to answer these. What is your opinion on a well done steak? And we're starting with Mars.
On a well-done what?
No, well done steak. What is your
Steak?
opinion on well done steak?
Well, I don't eat steak.
Fair.
So let's start there.
Okay.
Pass this question on.
So
to the
we're gonna
next.
go to Paul on that note.
Yeah, that's probably how I cook my steak because I'm a terrible griller. But I'm more of a medium rare type of guy. You know, little bit of flavor in the red there.
Thank God, Jenna. I'm scared about your answer. I'm very, very, very scared.
Oh, I'm well done all the way.
Oh
The
my
cows
God.
moo on my parents' farm. They don't need to moo on my plate.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
not. To each his own. Okay, Courtney.
That's good. That's good.
Courtney, I need your input. You're muted.
Absolutely not. No.
Thank you.
Growing up, I was only allowed to eat well done steaks. And one time my steak came back so burnt, all I could taste was the charcoal. And I couldn't eat steak again until I was like allowed to decide how I wanted it cooked. So it's always medium or medium rare now.
Yep. Jerry.
I'd say medium to medium rare.
Good.
Not too much on the rare side, but just enough for the flavor.
Definitely. Thank you. We have Jenna. We're gonna have to work on that one, Jenna. We're gonna have to get you somewhere. You're eating beef jerky over there, getting a jaw workout. You're getting a jaw workout over there. Everyone work on that. Okay.
We all get to bring our true, authentic self to the table.
Yeah. In jeans. No, just kidding.
So rare selves, medium rare selves.
Well done, selves.
Okay. And then next, would you give up your letters and join AK Psi for $1 million tax free? Mars? Oh, no.
Well, that depends. How are they paying me? Is it a lump sum? Is it an
However you
annuity?
want
Like
it.
what's wrong?
However you want it. You get to pick.
Do
You
I
can
get
get a lump sum, you get the annuity, you got to be an AK Psi.
Let me remind the panel this is being recorded.
Absolutely not.
No, the answer is no. I value my experience with DSP and it has brought me a lot of joy in life. And sometimes, when you're faced with that sort of decision, I would not go back on the experiences I've had because it has made me and shaped me to who I am today. So I'm very thankful for Delta Sigma Phi.
Beautiful. Paul was a no. Mrs. Well Done Steak, what about you?
Well, speaking of Strength Finder, context is one of my top ones. And I don't have enough context about AK Psi because there was no AK Psi on our campus. And so I couldn't fully answer that, but I am with Mars. I wouldn't give up my experiences. It's that alone is worth more than $1 million.
Courtney?
As much as I know that every chapter is different and navigates different operationally, I don't think that their values are as high standard as DSP from how I watched the chapter navigate. I never really dug too much into like researching them, so that going back to context may not be 100% accurate.
I agree. You don't have
I really value my
values
values and like the connection that I make over my values. So
I agree with that. And Mr. Hotwagner?
No, I wouldn't trade it. Wouldn't trade it at all.
Knew you were going to say that. Okay. And finally, our last question. Did any of you meet Cody Jr., JJ, MJ, or any other juniors at GCC, and what did you think of them?
I'd like to go first.
Go ahead.
So I have a special guest appearance. This is MJ.
Hey, MJ.
I was given MJ to give to my chapter, although it's very small and I don't have any apparel for MJ. I will house him or her until I find maybe a bandana before I pass it on to my collegiates.
Beautiful. Anybody else meet any of our friends, close friends?
I think I met Cody Jr. That was a very interesting experience, not one that I ever would have expected to have, but it was a lot of fun. It definitely, I could see how like when the mascots were around, because I might have met more than one, not too sure on that one. But the morale in the group would like almost instantly like boost. It was interesting to watch.
They're part of the family, man. Anybody else?
I didn't meet Cody Jr. at Congress, but I've met him before and Cody Jr. before, and he's always kind of hanging out. So that was always what I thought was cool.
Yeah, very quiet, young.
Yeah.
I wish my camera was
Objects or
working.
thoughts.
I have Winston with us right now, our newest member, but my camera is not working. I want to show him off. He's adorable. Okay, well, if nobody has any more questions, that was all I had on my part. So I would like to say thank you to everyone. I had a blast. It was very fun. Very nice talking to anybody. Any last comments regards from any of the panelists?
Great, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
On that note, I think our first annual FRAC Zoom meeting is over. I had a great time. It was fun, very enriching. Don't be afraid. Don't be strangers. Tell everybody in the chat. Reach out to somebody. Be a mentor, like they said. Everybody wants to help you and is willing to help you. So don't be afraid to reach out, guys. On that note, just want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll wait till it's not over till the magic words are said.
Are we?
I was not told the magic words.
You'll know them when you hear them.